Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, the Evil Dungeon Master channel here on YouTube. Hopefully you're doing well out there and you're having a great day. It's middle of the week probably, and we all should have some games on our minds because that's what we're doing. We're gamers, we always want to talk about gaming. TheEvilDM.com is my website. AskTheDM at TheEvilDM.com is my email address. You can join the channel by clicking on join for 99 cents a month and getting videos ahead of time. As well as you can join in on the member stream, usually on Friday nights. Anyway, so today I want to talk a little bit about conventions, especially the big one, Gencon. I'm going to be attending Gencon this year. I'm going to drive up there and go have fun at Gencon. The first time I've been to Gencon in probably 12 years, 13 years. I went back in 2010, 2011, I believe. When I was running Roll for Initiative podcast. 2010, I went just to kind of play games and walk around. 2011, I went and game mastered a bunch of games for Dead Games Society, running AD&D. Then this time, I'm just going to go back because I want to pretty much play games that I have not had a chance to play with people, and games that I want to play with people that I just can't get other people to play. But anyway, today's topic is going to be talking about running games at conventions. Now, I've gone to other conventions along the way, Epicon, things like that, and I've run games at these smaller conventions, BetaCon, Lone Star, and then there was another one here in Texas. I can't remember the name, apologize, but it's actually gone now, so it doesn't really... Gaming Expo, I think it was. I don't know, it's gone now. They closed up. But preparing a game for a convention is not the same preparing a game for your home game. You have to, since the convention, you only have a certain amount of time to play. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make up some pre-gen characters. Now, if you have a 4-hour block or a 5-hour block, which some games do, you may want to speed up the process of making characters. Everyone likes making characters, but unfortunately, depending on the game you're playing, you're not going to have a lot of time to make up characters and have people sitting there hemming and hawing over what they want to pick for a one-shot game. Now, what I did was I made up free-gen characters for my AD&D game, and I was running in a sci-fi type AD&D adventure where they had to investigate this forest, which led into a mountain where they found some weird aliens, and then they found this magical glove that shot out lasers and stuff like that. Now, I wrote the characters up, and I allowed the people who were sitting at the table to name them and make them whatever they wanted. They could make it a woman, a man, whatever, and put a name on it. And I wanted them to kind of customize it as far as what they look like and everything. I just gave them a basic class, hit points, and stats, enough that they had a character shell that they can play the game. From there, I ran the game. Now, I told them, when I first sat down, this is a convention game. Obviously, you signed up to play a convention game. We only have, and I think I had a 2-hour slot or a 3-hour slot. We only have 2 to 3 hours for this. I didn't want to waste time on character creation. It's AD&D. I figured, you guys should know. Boom. I gave them pretty decent characters. I also gave them a chance to ask questions about the character before we started, and if some of them wanted to coordinate backgrounds with each other, we got to do that. I let players do that to customize their characters. If some players had a problem with the character, I gave them a chance also to adjust things. But I only took 15 minutes to do all this. You only have a short amount of time when it comes to conventions, so you want to use up that time to play. You're there to play. I understand some people like making characters, and maybe that's their fun. Generally, people like to go to a convention to play games that they've not played or doesn't have a chance to play or just want to play with other people. So I gave them that 15 minutes, and then I started the adventure. I gave them the story and the background, and I let them roll forward with what was going on. Now, I'm a reactionary type GM, and I told them this. I said, my style of GMing is reactionary. I'm going to present things to you and allow you guys to drive the story. When they drive the story, I'm going to make a decision based upon what you decide to do. Now, I have various things written down that I want to accomplish in this so-called adventure and how I'm going to steer them towards these things without railroading them. But I'm going to basically react off of you. That's how I've always run my games, as reactionary style. I'm a reactionary GM. I've never heard anybody really use that term other than some people calling it on the fly GMing. I think reactionary GMing is a better term that I've kind of coined for these last couple of decades, I guess. But I've always been saying, even on Roll for Initiative, I said I was a reactionary GM or a reactionary DM. I react to what the players do. I give you position. I give you scenario A, scenario B, and scenario C. You pick those. You pick where you want to go. You drive that story, and I will help you drive that story along the way with whatever I come up with in my head. If I don't have it written down, if I have something written down for a place to go, I'll push you towards that without you actually realizing it and making it feel like I'm putting those railroad tracks down for you. Things in these games can always be moved around. If you have a scenario where you want the players to do something, but they don't want to do that, do it somewhere else in the adventure. Maybe they'll change their mind after a while. I know a lot of players will do that. They'll just be resistant to do what you want. So you just let them guide the adventure where it goes and supplement with what you need to do. Now, a lot of people can't instantly improv like that. And I know quite a few people that can, but not everybody is built for an improv type reaction type GM. Some people want everything set in stone and on paper and then be done with it that way and be like, because a lot of them, when you get thrown that, rock out of nowhere, you're like, what the hell do I do? What do I do? And, with a convention game, you have to basically tell them it's a convention game. Tell them you're going to steer the game in the adventure, of the direction of the adventure you want to play today. And most people understand. The people that I played with all really enjoyed the randomness of, finding the glove and also finding various silly things along the way. Like I had them, they found a hot dog stand in the middle of nowhere and they were laughing hysterical at that. And then we had a little old man that was went to the party and they tried to steal their food and he was running around in circles trying to get. I did things like that to lighten the tone of the game and make everybody kind of more comfortable and laugh. After the game was over, most people said they said they enjoyed the game. A bunch of people actually wanted to keep the character sheets as in memory of the game so they can remember it, which I thought was kind of cool because I hand wrote all the games and kind of outlined it on old school paper, loose leaf paper, and they like that. They like that it was done that style and kind of with the shading and everything I did. So they wanted to keep it to remember the event from Gencon. So that's generally how I run games at conventions. Now, me going to Gencon this year in August, I'm not going to be running any games, but I want to kind of wander around the vendor hall, playing a few games that I don't get to play in, and meet a few people that are going to be going to Gen Con that I've talked to via email on, from this channel or something. So, a couple people have already reached out because I've mentioned it, I think, in another live stream that I was going to go to Gen Con. They reached out and they said they wanted to meet up and talk about gaming and have a beer or something like that, which I'm all for. So it's the one convention I'm going to go to. I don't really go to conventions anymore because I don't really want to. With all the problems with my back and everything like that, it's just kind of difficult. But anyway, tell me what you do when it comes to convention games. How do you program your adventure games? How do you plan them? I don't know why I said program. How you plan your adventure games for that wonderful session you're going to play. How do you handle players that are difficult there? I ran a bunch of games in 2011. I didn't run into any difficult people, so it was interesting to see that, honestly. But then again, I ran all old school games like Marvel and AD&D, so the maturity of the player was generally people in their 40s and 50s and late 30s when I was doing it then. And generally, those people aren't the ones that are going to cause a lot of trouble. Now, I'm not saying that everyone in that age group is not going to cause any problems because it doesn't really matter. You could be 65 and still act like you're 13 and a child. So it's just a matter of what type of gaming style you're into. Now, I noticed the old school gaming group is a little bit more mature about how they play their games. And I'm not putting any slight on the mainstream media, but I noticed did I say media? Mainstream gaming group, I noticed there's a lot more of immature people and people that like to argue quite a bit. Now, I'm not trying to cause controversy or drama with that, but that's just my experiences. I live in a two-college town. I see it all the time when people play 5th edition. They like to argue. They like to throw books in the DM's face saying they can't do that. And that's not the thing that I really want to bother with. So, and yeah, and a lot of them are just young, and there are some that are older too. So you can't really put it into one thing. But I'm gonna head out. I wanted to just say I'm going to Gen Con and tell you how I run Gen Con games. Maybe if I could see anybody there at Gen Con, that'd be great. Let me know. We'll meet up. With that said, I'm gonna head out. Keep it original. Keep it old school. Good night and God bless everybody.